All right, Melpa Kamateros is joining us once again this morning. She's been on the show several times to talk about the fantastic work she does with her organization, the Shields of Athena, helping women and children get out of situations of domestic violence and helping to keep them out. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
And thank you for making it through the treacherous snow conditions,
oh my goodness,
we should say. So you're holding this auction. This is the 24th annual art auction to benefit victims and family members. So basically people fleeing violence. I'm going to be hosting this event this coming Sunday. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah.
But first, let's talk a little bit about what a second step shelter is, because the goal is to raise money to be able to build this establishment.
Well, a second step shelter, or a transition resource, as we say, is the resource that women and the children need to go to after their stay in any of the 102 emergency shelters that exist presently in Quebec. Because if they stay longer than the proscribed time, and it can be anywhere from a day to 3 months, they're keeping other women who are in imminent danger out. So there are very few second step resources or second step transition homes in Quebec. When we began in 2010, there were 11 with slightly over 100 spaces, and now there are 19 with, let's say, 126, 130 spaces.
But I have to ask you, so one of the reasons I think, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, is the second step shelter is so important because if it's not there and the women are kept in sort of this emergency shelter type situation, is it easier for them to feel like they can go back? Like, tell me how the second step shelter keeps the women and the children from feeling like they have to go back.
Well, the biggest thing is recidivity, like the tendency to go back because of the economic dependency, because of the issues that keep the woman with the abusive partner. So the second step is supposed to be a transition resource where the woman's autonomy is promoted, where she can stay for a longer period of time in safety and in security, and also with integrated services that benefit herself and her children.
Like what? When you say integrated services, are we talking about job placement? Are we talking about language skills?
Yes.
What exactly are you working on?
Yes, we work on the women because, you know, we don't want to just deposit the woman in a cubicle and say, okay, it's up to you now. The whole thing is to support the woman throughout this process towards autonomy. So we help her enlist for vocational training. We help her enlist for language courses. And we also provide services to her children who have been so traumatized by witnessing the violence that they've witnessed. And throughout this whole procedure, it could take anywhere from a year to 2 years. The ultimate goal is for the woman to be apart from the abusive partner and be able to create her own independence living.
Yeah, so this event is happening on Sunday. This is the 24th edition. The goal specifically, right, you're selling these beautiful pieces of art, is to get money to build this secondary shelter. So the emergency shelter is in an undisclosed location in Montreal.
In Montreal,
for safety reasons. The second one you have, take us through it. So you have the land, and you're just waiting for the funds, right, at this point. Where exactly is this place? And tell me, take us through where we're at.
Well, in terms of steps, we're from 1 to 10, we're at 9.5.
9.5. So take us through.
So we're building in the spring because we have the land, we have cleared it, and we are just waiting for the final approval from the City of Laval, who has been a marvelous, marvelous collaborator and partner with us regarding this. And then we'll go ahead and ask for construction bids. But I just have to say, Joanne, that it isn't only in terms of the construction that we need the funding. It's in terms of the services, because I alluded to that before. We have to have the integrated services there so that we can help the women and the kids in their transition.
Yeah, you're not just dropping them off.
No.
You need to get them stronger. You need to get them independent. You need to get help for those kids. Melpa, a lot of people will look at domestic violence and say, you know, it's in the shadows. We don't hear about it. They don't understand why women go back. What would you like to tell people at home about these situations of domestic violence? The people who really don't get it and they say, well, why don't they just leave? Just tell them to leave. It's not as easy as people think, right?
Well, you know, if we use Canadian stats, between after every fourth door, there is a case of domestic or conjugal violence. And it is estimated that only 40% of the situations are really explained, you know, are really reported. Last year we had over 19,000 cases that passed through the courts. So if we had 19,000 cases and only 40% of the cases are reported, you can imagine that it's only the tip of the iceberg. And why do people not talk about it? Because there's still shame, unfortunately. There should be no shame. I mean, everybody has the right to live a life without violence.
Yeah.
So, please report the violence.
And please report the violence. And if you can make it on Sunday, please, there's all the information is there at the 24th annual art auction happening right there at the Mille de la Gauchetière. I will be there hosting the event. Come and bid on these wonderful pieces of art and help these women and these children start a new life and really just stay away from the violence. Melpa, I'll see you on Sunday.
Oh, for sure, at the auction.
Thank you so much. Jill's and Athena. Stay tuned. The latest on the tricky weather and traffic situation out there.